彼が逃げられなくなる理由は言葉ではない。沈黙だ。しかも癒してしまう沈黙。説明していない。説得もしていない。求めてもいない。それなのに彼はあなたの前でなぜか落ち着く。なぜか本音を漏らす。なぜか戻ってくる。会話が多いわけではない。むしろ言葉が途切れる瞬間に空気が変わる。あなたはこう感じたことはないだろうか。今何も言っていないのに、彼が深く呼吸したと。これから語るのは男性を 100% 依存させる癒しの沈黙。ユング心理学が暴く、なぜ男はこの沈黙から逃げられないのか。それはテクニックではない。操作でもない。無意識の構造に触れてしまう現象だ。カール・ユングは無意識が最も強く働くのは言葉が消えた瞬間だと考えた。沈黙とは何も起きていない状態ではない。意識が退き、無意識が前に出る瞬間だ。この時、人は鎧を下ろす。役割を外す。仮面、ペルソナが緩む。多くの男は日常で常に役割を演じている。強くあることを決めること、支えること。その緊張が解ける場所はほとんど存在しない。だが評価されない沈黙。解決を求められない沈黙。感情を整理しなくていい沈黙。この沈黙の前で男の無意識は初めて休む。思考機能が主の男は考えなくていい空間に安堵する。感情機能が主の男は感情を言語化しなくていい沈黙に救われる。感覚機能が主の男は身体の緊張が緩む瞬間を覚える。直感機能が主の男は意味を探さなくていい間に引き込まれる。だが沈黙はすべての機能を一時停止させ、影を前面に呼び出す。話題が尽きたわけではない。気まずいわけでもない。それでも彼は黙る。視線を外す。深く息を吐く。これは拒絶ではない。安全のサインだ。無意識は危険な相手の前では沈黙しない。沈黙できる相手とは防御を下ろしても壊されないと感じている相手だ。言葉は人格を演じるための道具だ。沈黙は演技を剥がす。だからこの沈黙の中で彼は弱さを見せる。迷いを漏らす。子供のような表情になる。あなたは何もしていない。だが彼の影が勝手に出てきている。何か言わなければ関係は深まらない。ユング心理学ではこれは侵略だ。最も深い結びつきは言葉が消えた場所で起きる。ここであなたに問う。あなたは彼の前で沈黙を埋めようとしてきただろうか。それとも沈黙を許してきただろうか。もし後者ならすでに癒しの沈黙は始まっている。次のブロックではなぜこの沈黙が安心ではなく依存に変わっていくのかを解体する。なぜ彼は癒されたはずなのに離れられなくなるのか。そしてもし今の話のどこかで心が引っかかったなら一つだけ伝えておきたい。コメント欄の固定コメントにジャン心理学をベースにした沈黙が彼の無意識に何を起こしているのかをもっと深いレベルで解き明かした特別な電子書籍のリンクを置いてある。言葉よりも沈黙が彼の心を動かす理由、その裏側の仕組みが知りたくなる瞬間が必ず来る。その時にそっと覗いてみてほしい。彼が癒されたはずなのになぜ離れられなくなるのか。沈黙は安心では終わらない。怪奇を引き起こす。最初はただ楽だった。何も求められない。説明しなくていい。評価されない。彼は言う。くんといると頭が静かになる。なぜか疲れない。だが次第に変化が起きる。連絡が増える。会う頻度が上がる。沈黙を求めて戻ってくる。あなたは疑問に思う。 癒されただけなのになぜ？それは癒しが心理的回帰を起こしたからだ。ユング心理学では強い安心感は人を現在ではなく過去の原型的安全状態へ戻す。それは母性的空間、評価のない場、存在しているだけで許される場所。沈黙が深いほど男の無意識はこの原型に触れる。これは恋ではない。原初的な依存構造だ。言葉があると人は役割を演じる。沈黙があると人はあるだけになる。この状態は幼少期に経験した無条件受容の記憶と重なる。男の無意識はこれを二度と失いたくない場所と認識する。思考機能が主の男は考えなくていい沈黙に溺れる。感情機能が主の男は感情を説明しなくていい場に執着する。感覚機能が主の男は身体が緩む感覚を求めて戻る。直感機能が主の男は意味のない舞に吸い込まれる。だが沈黙はすべての機能を退かせ、原型レベルの欲求を前に出す。特別なデートはいらない。深い話題もいらない。ただ、同じ空間にいたい。何も起きなくていい。これは退屈ではない。回帰の欲求だ。無意識は安全な場所に戻ることでエネルギーを回復しようとする。沈黙の中で彼は弱くなる。決断を先延ばしにする。現実から一時的に退く。これは堕落ではない。影が休息を得ている状態だ。だが、この状態が長く続くと、無意識は、ここに泊まりたい、と学習する。癒しは本来、回復のためにある。だが、回復だけで終わる癒しは、成長を止める。沈黙が前進を促さず、現実への復帰を伴わないとき、癒しは依存に変質する。ここで、あなたに問う。彼はあなたの沈黙の後、現実に戻っているだろうか。それとも、戻らずに、またあなたの元へ帰ってきているだろうか。後者なら、沈黙はすでに安心を超えている。次のブロックでは、なぜこの沈黙が愛着ではなく依存になる瞬間があるのかを語る。境界線が消えた沈黙は何を破壊するのか。もし、彼が戻ってきすぎていると感じたなら、いいねで合図してほしい。沈黙の後に彼が取った行動をコメントに残してほしい。依存が始まる瞬間は情熱でも甘さでもない。境界線が消えた沈黙だ。最初はただ受け止めていただけだった。否定しなかった。遮らなかった。急かさなかった。だが、いつの間にか彼は決断しなくなった。現実から距離を取り始めた。あなたの沈黙を避難所として使い始めた。あなたは感じる。私、支えているつもりだったのに。なぜか重い。ユング心理学では、健全な関係には必ず境界線がある。境界線とは、冷たさではない。拒絶でもない。自我、エゴと他者を分ける輪郭だ。沈黙に境界線がないと、二人の心理は静かに融合する。融合は一体感を生むが、同時に自立を奪う。決断、責任、前進。これらは男にとって常に負荷を伴う。境界線のない沈黙は、その負荷を一時的に無効化する。無意識は学習する。ここに来れば選ばなくていい。思考機能が主の男は考えることを放棄し始める。感情機能が主の男は感情処理を相手に預け始める。感覚機能が主の男は現実行動を遅らせ始める。直感機能が主の男は可能性の中に逃げ込み続ける。だが、境界線が消えた瞬間、主人公は物語から降りる。話した。黙った。落ち着いた。だが、何も変わっていない。この繰り返しは、癒しではない。停滞だ。 沈黙が現実に接続されないとき、無意識はそこに居座る。依存は片側だけに起きない。彼が寄りかかると、あなたも必要とされる自分に意味を感じ始める。この瞬間、あなたの影も反応している。役割を持つことで自分の空白を埋めようとしている。癒してあげられる私は特別。ユング心理学では、これは危険信号だ。救済者役割は関係を歪める。彼が決断を先延ばしにする沈黙の後、現実行動が減るあなたの存在が逃げ場になるあなた自身が疲れ始める。これらが重なったら、沈黙はすでに変質している。ここで、あなたに問う。その沈黙は、彼を前に進ませているだろうか。それとも、止めているだろうか。答えは、彼の行動に出ている。次のブロックでは、依存を生まない、癒しの沈黙と、依存を生む沈黙の決定的な違いを語る。同じ沈黙なのになぜ結果が正反対になるのか。同じ沈黙でも結果は正反対になる。彼を成長させる沈黙と彼を縛る沈黙がある。あなたは責めていない。要求していない。コントロールもしていない。それなのに彼は動かなくなる。決めなくなる。あなたの前でだけ立ち止まる。あなたは戸惑う。私は何もしていないのになぜ？答えは残酷だ。何もしなかったことが境界線の欠如として作用した。ユング心理学において真の癒しとは過去に戻ることではない。エネルギーを回復させ、再び前に配置することだ。沈黙が現実から切り離すなら対抗現実へ戻すなら成長。同じ沈黙でも向きが違えば結果は逆になる。境界線のある沈黙には暗黙の前提がある。ここで休んでいい。だが、ここに止まる場所ではない。この前提があると、男の無意識は安心しながらも現実を忘れない。境界線は、沈黙を一時的な回復装置にする。思考機能が主の男は、沈黙の後に判断が明確になる。感情機能が主の男は、沈黙の後に感情を自分で処理し始める。感覚機能が主の男は、沈黙の後に現実行動に戻る。直感機能が主の男は、沈黙の後に一つの方向を選び始める。だが、沈黙が終わった後に何が起きるかが本質だ。沈黙の後、会話が閉まる沈黙の後、行動が増える沈黙の後、次の話題が現実的。この沈黙は、包むが抱え込まない。あなたは彼の代わりに何も背負っていない。健全な沈黙では、あなたが消耗しない。なぜなら、彼の影をあなたが処理していないからだ。影は本人が向き合うべきもの。沈黙は向き合う空間を与えるだけで答えを引き受けない。癒してあげていると感じ始めた瞬間、沈黙は歪む。健全な沈黙ではあなたはしていない。ただそこにあるだけだ。彼が沈黙の後に決断するあなたが軽い関係が前に進む同じ問題が繰り返されない。これらが揃っていれば、沈黙は成長の装置として働いている。ここで、あなたに問う。その沈黙の後、彼は前に進んでいるだろうか。それとも、同じ場所に戻ってきているだろうか。答えは、何度も繰り返される行動にある。次のブロックでは、なぜ癒しの沈黙は、男の心に恐れを生むのかを語る。なぜ彼は、安心しているのに失うことを恐れ始めるのか。もし、沈黙の後に変化が起きていたと感じたなら、いいねで合図してほしい。沈黙の後に彼が取った行動をコメントに残してほしい。彼が失うことを恐れ始めた瞬間、関係は逆転する。癒しの沈黙は安心ではなく怖さを残す。彼は穏やかだ。感情的ではない。 依存的な言葉も少ない。それなのにあなたが少し距離を取ると反応が早くなる。沈黙が長引くと自分から近づいてくる。彼は落ち着いている。だが、失うことには耐えられない。ユング心理学では、恐れは弱さではない。価値を無意識が認識した瞬間に生じる反応だ。癒しの沈黙は、男の無意識にこう刻み込む。ここは、自分を回復させる場所だ。この場所を失う可能性が見えたとき、恐れが生まれる。人は安心になれる前に喪失を恐れる。特に言葉ではなく体感で得た安心は無意識に深く根を張る。沈黙による癒しは説明できない分、奪われる時の恐怖が大きい。思考機能が主の男は理由を探し始める。なぜ君は変わった？感情機能が主の男は不安を感情として漏らす。最近、距離を感じる。感覚機能が主の男は会う頻度を増やそうとする。直感機能が主の男は未来の不安を語り始める。だが、恐れが出た機能こそ沈黙が最も深く触れた場所だ。まだ会えるよね、最近忙しい？何か変わった？これは支配ではない。位置確認だ。彼の無意識は自分がどこに立っているのかを測ろうとしている。恐れが出ると影が前に出る。自信のなさ、見捨てられ不安、過去の傷、沈黙によって癒された影は今度は失うことを恐れる。恐れ重さ悪い兆候。ユング心理学ではこれは誤りだ。恐れは価値が生まれた後にしか現れない。健全な恐れは彼を前に進ませる。依存的な恐れは彼を止まらせる。恐れの後に決断があるか、恐れの後に行動があるか。ここが分かれ目だ。ここであなたに問う。彼は恐れた後、あなたにしがみついただろうか。それとも自分の人生を整え始めただろうか。答えは沈黙の5にある。次のブロックでは、なぜ癒しの沈黙が男の執着スイッチを完全に入れてしまう瞬間を語る。それはある一つの誤った反応だ。そして、もし今の話のどこかで心が引っかかったなら一つだけ伝えておきたい。コメント欄の固定コメントにジャン心理学をベースにした沈黙が彼の無意識に何を起こしているのかをもっと深いレベルで解き明かした特別な電子書籍のリンクを置いてある。言葉よりも沈黙が彼の心を動かす理由、その裏側の仕組みが知りたくなる瞬間が必ず来る。その時にそっと覗いてみてほしい。男が完全に執着へ傾く瞬間、それは沈黙そのものではない。沈黙の後にあなたが何をしたから。これまで沈黙は彼を落ち着かせていた。呼吸を整え、本音を引き出し、現実へ戻す力を持っていた。だが、ある瞬間から空気が変わる。彼は沈黙の後、不安を口にする。弱さを見せる。依存的な兆しを見せる。その時、あなたはどう反応しただろうか。大丈夫だよ、私がいるよ、心配しなくていい。その一言で、沈黙は癒しから執着装置へと変わる。ユング心理学では、無意識は非常に合理的だ。ある状態で不安が出る。その直後に他者が保証する。無意識は学習する。不安を出せば補われる。これが繰り返されると、男の無意識は不安を利用し始める。依存は弱さからではなく学習から生まれる。受け止めること自体は悪くない。問題は不安の責任まで引き受けた瞬間だ。沈黙は彼自身が不安を処理するための空間だった。そこにあなたが答えを与えると処理は外注される。思考機能が主の男は判断をあなたに委ね始める。感情機能が主の男は感情調整をあなたに任せる。 感覚機能が主の男は、安心を得る行動だけを繰り返す。直感機能が主の男は、未来をあなた基準で描き始める。だが、主人公が他人にハンドルを渡した瞬間、物語は依存へ転落する。本当に大丈夫？まだ好き？離れないよね？これは愛の表現ではない。不安処理の委託だ。沈黙で浮上した不安をあなたが消してくれると彼の無意識は期待する。ここで影が逆転する。本来、沈黙は彼の影を浮かび上がらせる装置だった。だが保証が続くと、影はあなたに張り付く。彼は楽になる。あなたは重くなる。これが執着関係の構造だ。安心させ続ける不安を否定する離れないと約束する。これらは優しさではない。心理的自立を奪う行為だ。沈黙の後、彼の不安を返すこと。返すとは、突き放すことではない。その不安、どう扱う？君はどうしたい？責任を元の持ち主に戻す。ここで、あなたに問う。あなたは沈黙の後、彼を軽くしているだろうか？それとも、彼の荷物を持ってしまっているだろうか？答えは、あなたの疲労感に出ている。次のブロックでは、男を依存させずに、それでも離れられなくする沈黙の最終形態を語る。なぜ一部の女性は、誰も縛らず、誰にも縛られないのに、決して手放されないのか。もし、安心させすぎていたかもしれないと感じたなら、いいねで合図してほしい。沈黙の後に言ってしまった一言をコメントに残してほしい。彼が離れられなくなる沈黙は、癒しでも依存でもない。戻される沈黙だ。追っていない。約束もしていない。不安を消してもいない。それなのに彼は戻ってくる。確認しなくても戻る。安心を与えなくても離れない。あなたは不思議に思う。何もしていないのになぜ？それは偶然ではない。沈黙の質が違う。ユング心理学では、健全な関係は相手を包むのではなく、相手を自分の中心へ戻す。最終形態の沈黙は、癒しも慰めも保証もしない。ただ問いを残す。人は答えを与えられると一時的に楽になる。だが、答えを返されると自分の内側に戻らざるを得ない。沈黙の中で彼はこう感じる。これは俺の問題だ。この感覚が無意識に主体性を呼び戻す。思考機能が主の男は自分で結論を出し始める。感情機能が主の男は感情を自分で整理し始める。感覚機能が主の男は行動で現実を変え始める。直感機能が主の男は一つの未来を選び始める。だが、主人公が再びハンドルを握った瞬間、沈黙は力になる。沈黙の後、あなたは何も言っていない。それでも、彼は動く。連絡を整理する。仕事に戻る。人生の選択をする。これは冷たさではない。沈黙が彼を彼自身へ返した結果だ。この沈黙では、影はあなたに張り付かない。彼の影は彼自身の手に戻る。あなたは救済者でも母でも避難所でもない。ただ鏡だ。何かしてあげないと意味がない。ユング心理学ではこれは最大の誤解だ。最も強い影響はしていないところから生まれる。不安を消さない答えを与えない責任を奪わない距離を恐れない。この沈黙は彼を甘やかさない。だが、彼を信じている。ここで、あなたに問う。あなたは沈黙の中で彼を信じているだろうか。それとも、彼の代わりに背負っているだろうか。この違いが全てを分ける。次のブロックでは、この物語の最終章。なぜこの沈黙が男を縛らず、それでも一生忘れられないのか。 沈黙が関係ではなく象徴になる瞬間を語る。彼が一生忘れられなくなる理由は、依存でも愛着でもない。沈黙が彼を自分自身へ返したからだ。別れた。距離も取った。連絡も途切れた。それでも人生の節目でふと思い出す。懐かしさではない。未練でもない。思い出すと背筋が伸びる。選択が静かに整う。それはあなたの沈黙が彼の中に基準として残ったからだ。ユング心理学において最も強い影響を持つ体験は人ではなく象徴として保存される。癒しの沈黙は関係を超えて象徴へと昇華する。逃げずに向き合った瞬間責任を取り戻した感覚自分で決めたという記憶。これらが束ねられ、あなたの沈黙は彼の内的コンパスになる。タイトルは、男性を 100% 依存させると語った。だが真実は逆だ。最も逃げられない沈黙は、依存を生まない沈黙だ。なぜなら、依存は切れる。象徴は切れない。思考は自分の結論を尊重する。感情は揺れても飲み込まれない。感覚は現実から逃げない。直感は一つの方向を選ぶ。だが最終章では、主人公は沈黙の中で自分に戻った自分だ。誰かと一緒にいてもどこか浅い。言葉は多いのに心が落ち着かない。それはかつて体験した戻される沈黙を無意識が知っているからだ。それ以上の深度が他では再現できない。あなたが救ったわけではない。彼が自分を救った。あなたの沈黙はその場だった。影は他人に癒されるのではない。自分の手に戻った時、統合される。愛される人になる必要はない。必要とされる人になる必要もない。ただ、相手を自分へ戻す沈黙を恐れずに持てるかどうか。それだけだ。ここで最後に問う。あなたは沈黙の中で相手を信じきれるだろうか。それとも不安に耐えきれず何かを与えてしまうだろうか。この問いに静かに立ち続けられる人だけが忘れられない存在になる。ここまでたどり着いたなら、いいねでこの沈黙を完了させてほしい。最も刺さったブロック番号をコメントに残してほしい。それは、あなたの無意識が今、統合しようとしているテーマだ。そしてユング心理学で無意識、影、関係性の真相をさらに探求するなら、チャンネル登録を。物語は、ここで終わる。だが沈黙は、今も彼の中で選択を正している。
You are beginning to close the gap between things wanted and things received? That was a trick question. You've reached the place where you are satisfied with unfulfilled desires. In other words, your contrasting experience has helped you to identify that you are wanting things. And those things, some of them have not yet manifested. In fact, some of them you cannot even begin to see how they might manifest. Some of them are sort of far-fetched in terms of the relationship between where you are and what you want. And so our question, our very important question to you is, you are all right with that? Those unfulfilled desires are now a source of life-giving to you? Well, there will be a time when you will remember that that's how you really felt. And there will be a time that you will feel that way again, where your contrasting experience will have inspired within you an awareness of something that you want. And even though that manifestation has not yet come, you will not be upset about it, you will not be worried about it, you will not be fearful that it will not come, because you will understand that anything that you ask for is given. You will understand that when contrast inspires within you a desire, that the same environment which has provided the contrast which has inspired the desire has the resources to fulfill the desire. So there is never a case where you could ask for something and it could be out of your reach. There is never, ever anything that you identify as desire, big or small, far-reaching or up close, that you do not have the ability to receive. And the reason for that is because when you ask, it is always given. The reason for that, you may not really know this. You are here in these physical bodies, but you are extensions of source energy, not separate from source energy, not sent on a mission for source energy, not here to prove your worthiness to source energy. You are extensions of source energy. You are the physical manifestation of that which is source, and that which is source is at the heart of that which is you. When you are moving in the direction of those things that are being held for you in vibrational escrow that you are wanting, you can feel by the positive emotions that you are feeling that you are moving in the right direction. When you are moving toward those things that are being held for you in vibrational escrow that you don't want, you can tell by the way you feel as you are moving toward them that you are moving toward them. Everything that you think about, everything that you talk about, everything that you are doing on a day-to-day basis is contributing to that vibrational escrow. In other words, you are launching those rockets of desires. Those rockets of desires are moving from you into the ethers, and they are being acted on by all that is. In other words, the fairies of the universe, the non-physical energies, in conjunction with everything that you know of physical nature, is all working together in order to move toward that which you are creating. And the thing that we so much want you to remember is that more than 99% of every creation is complete before you see any physical evidence of it. So you are moving powerfully toward all kinds of things without being really aware that you are in terms of manifestation, because the manifestation doesn't show up until much of the energy has already been launched. So when you are understanding that the way you feel is your indicator of what it is you are moving toward, then you will no longer say, as so many people say, oh, it just came out of the blue. This thing I really did not want just landed on me out of the blue. And we say, hardly. It didn't just come out of the blue. You've been marching toward it, knowing by the way you feel that you are moving toward it, and you can never have a happy ending at the end of an unhappy journey. It just doesn't work out that way. In other words, the way you're feeling along the way is the way you're continuing to prepave your journey, and it's the way it's going to continue to turn out until you do something about the way you are feeling. So what we are encouraging you to do is to realize that you can tell by the way you feel what you are moving toward. It would be a good picture for you to realize that every subject is really two subjects. It's like opposite ends of the stick. And on one end of the stick is something you don't want, and on the other end of the stick is something you do want. In other words, wellness on one end, sickness on the other. It's the same subject really, but really different ends of the stick. Plenty of money on one end, not nearly enough on the other. It's the same subject, but really different ends of the stick. And when you think about plenty of money, you feel one way. When you think about not nearly enough money, you feel the other way. And so consider that out there in your future experience is a big long stick. And that stick represents some subject of something you really want or something you really don't want. On one end of it is something you want. On the other end of it is something that you don't want. And you can tell by the way you feel, thought by thought, comment by comment, action by action, which way you're going. You can tell. So when you realize that you're standing where you're standing, and where you are is just fine. So when you realize that out there is this subject, and as you move this direction, you're moving toward what you don't want, and as you're moving this direction, you're moving towards something that you do want. And then you realize that in every moment you have options. In every moment you are making a statement, thinking a thought, having a feeling, directing something about you, and the statement that you're making in every case is moving slightly in the direction of what you want or slightly in the direction of what you don't want. Yes? So we like to say it's like forking off. It's like forking off gently towards something that you don't want, or forking in the direction of something that you do want. And when you begin to realize the power of your now, You see, sometimes people will say, Abraham, it's so unsettling to me because I'm so far from things that I want in terms of manifestation. And we say, you really are not far in terms of time at all. You may be far in terms of your vibrational frequency. You may be offering vibrations that are in opposition to what you want, and your emotions are letting you know that you're doing that. But your distance that you must travel is not a distance through time and not a distance through space. It's the timing about how your manifestations come to you is about your vibrational alignment. It's about closing the gap in that vibrational relativity between where you are and where you want to be. You get to choose from right where you are the next step or the next thought or the next vibration. And that vibration that you choose through what you're pondering or commenting on, that vibration will be moving you closer toward what you are wanting or closer toward what you are not wanting. Because everything that you're doing in every moment is moving you. You cannot stand still. People sometimes say, oh, I'm just stuck. And we say that's not possible because things are always in motion. But as you continue to say similar things, even though things are changing, they're changing to the same thing over and over again. You have to begin to make different forking. You have to begin to make different choices. Your emotions follow a very broad range. On one end of the emotional scale are emotions that feel very good to you, emotions that you would describe as appreciation or love or joy, passion, enthusiasm. And on the other end of the emotional scale are emotions that don't feel so good. They feel like despair or fear or feelings of disempowerment, feelings of powerful discouragement. On the end of the scale that feels pretty good to you is your perception of freedom, your perception of your own power, your perception of your own power, which is who you really are and what source really knows you to be. On the other end of the emotional scale, where the emotions don't feel so good, is your perception of not freedom. And we use the word perception because it really is perceptual. You are so free you can choose bondage if you want to. You truly are free because no one can offer a vibration for you. They can influence your vibration. They can behave in ways that as you observe, you are affected. But ultimately, you are the one who is the keeper of your vibration. And when you understand that, then you can do something about beginning to close the vibrational gap between where you are and where you want to be. As you are closing that vibrational gap, on one end of the scale, you may be frustrated, you may be angry, you may be depressed, you may be in true despair about something, you may have strong fear about something. But if you are in any of those vibrations and someone is encouraging you to cheer up or to follow your bliss or to find something to appreciate, or they tell you that you're the creator of your own reality, you need to cheer up, you've got to want to say that can't be true or you'd be gone, because nothing is more disconcerting than to be in a vibration that feels awful, where the life is being sucked out of you, and have some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed person trying to coax you back into your alignment. Because in the same way that you cannot set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM, the frequencies don't match up when you are depressed or when you are discouraged with thoughts or feelings or memories or incidences that match that different frequency that matches appreciation. In other words, when you are depressed, you don't have access to appreciation. You just don't. And what we're wanting you to understand is that while when you're depressed, you don't have access to thoughts of appreciation, when you're depressed, you have access to thoughts of anger. Ah, the life-giving breath of fresh air that revenge brings. And what we want you to hear in terms of what we're talking about here today is that when you reach from your place of desperation or from your place of despair, when you reach for a thought of revenge, from our point of view, you are forking in the right direction. As you fork that far and you find that feeling of revenge, you may not be able to tell from where you are now, because you're far from that feeling of revenge. And the idea of revenge for you feels like going in the wrong direction. But if you've ever been truly depressed and you got mad, didn't you feel the relief that your anger brought you? And the reason you felt relief in anger is because there is less resistance in anger than there is in depression or despair or fear. So, resistance of what? Resistance of your alignment with your true signal. And your true signal is source energy. Your true signal is the pure positive energy that is your source. Your true signal is elation. Your true signal is appreciation. Your true signal is love. Your true signal is worthiness. Your true signal is knowing your value. Your true signal is recognizing the value in others. Your true signal is tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Your true signal is alignment with source. Your true signal is vibrationally standing here in your leading edge place, finding thoughts that allow a pure connection between you and you. And when you allow that pure connection, you thrive. Abundance of all manner that pleases you flows easily to you. You find clarity. You find stability. You find vitality. You find ability to reason. You find solutions to questions and problems before you've even become too utterly aware of the problem. Imagine that. Contrast sends a rocket of desire into your experience, and the desire is answered before the question is ever really fully manifested into your experience. Do you know that if you can get in sync with who you really are, that you can launch the solutions to your problems so quickly on the heels of your identification of your problem that the solution and the problem will manifest in the same moment and you will not even be aware that there was ever a problem? That's how good you get when you get into sync with who you are. You are vibrational creators. You are leading edge energy beings. You are source energies in physical bodies, and you are extensions of pure positive energy. And the better you feel, the more you are allowing that alignment in any moment, and the worse you feel, the more you are not allowing it. You are the creator of your own experience, and it is playing out exactly as you are offering it vibrationally. So it does not matter where you are, because where you are will bring a solution. In other words, where you are will always evolve into something that is even better than where you are. Because where you are is full of data that causes preferences to be born, and as the preferences are born, source adheres to the preference, and one point of vibrational relativity becomes a fact in your vibrational countenance right now. The only other question is, where are you in relationship with that? And that's why we call this gathering the art of allowing, because it is the art of allowing myself over here in this vibrational countenance to come into vibrational alignment with who I really am, to be the receiver of what my exposure to this experience has caused me to contribute to this experience. Do you know that you in your generation are now benefiting by contrasts that past generations lived and desires that they launched into vibrational futures? And do you know that you are today launching rockets of desires that future generations will benefit from? And do you know that that's not why we're here talking with you? That the reason that we're here talking with you is that we believe that it is time for you to become the beneficiaries of your own romp through contrast. We think it's time for you to give birth to your desires that are pertinent to your experience, and that you be the full-blown manifestors of the desires that you have given birth to. Because we know you create your own reality. We see you offering your vibrations. We see heaven and earth parting in order to accommodate whatever it is that you're offering vibrationally. How I feel right now matters so much. How I feel right now matters so much because how I feel right now is about what I'm emanating, and what I'm emanating equals what I'm getting back. And so how I feel is really the only thing that really matters. How you feel in any moment in time is the only thing that really matters. Most humans don't know they have control over that, because most humans, we love you so much, you are conditional in your now. The way you feel right now has so much to do with conditions that you are living, that you are comparing one to another, that you are remembering, that you are regurgitating, that you are emphasizing, sometimes unnecessarily, that you are exaggerating. You exaggerate things to make points with others who don't get it. That's the thing that trips you up the most, you know. You're so determined that you're going to get somebody else to see from your point of view that you talk really a lot about what your point of view is, even if it doesn't serve you. Even if your point of view does not equal what you want. Oh, I had this terrible experience. Let me tell you about it. And in the telling you about it, let me practice the vibration of it so that I own it, so that for sure it's my point of attraction. And so there is a little bit of justifying and defending going on. There is quite a little bit of, there is an enormous amount of defending, that was funny, going on that isn't necessary. And we want today to help you sort of shake loose, to realize that you get to feel the way you want to feel, and that the conditions don't need to matter. You can feel good unconditionally, and when you do feel good unconditionally, your point of attraction now is not about current conditions, which is the only way anything can change. If your point of attraction is about current conditions, then there's just a regurgitation of what is. So it's different faces, different places, but the same experience over and over again, isn't it? But if you can separate the conditions that are not pleasing you from the vibration that you're emitting, which means you're loving unconditionally, you're having clarity unconditionally, you're finding alignment regardless of the condition. And how are you doing that? Because you understand the laws of the universe, because you understand your point of attraction, because you understand law of attraction, because you understand focus, and most of all, you understand that how you feel really matters. And if you don't feel good, you do something about bringing yourself to a place of feeling better. Which brings us to the most important subject that we will ever talk with anybody about. And that is your path, or the path, your path of least resistance. Your path of least resistance and your path of most allowance are the same thing. For a while we called this gathering the science of deliberate creation. But you got too worried about that. Deliberate creation, the science of deliberate creation. So you'd hear yourself saying something and it would scare you. You try to suck it back before a law of attraction could get hold of it. You became fearful of your own thoughts. And so we began calling it the art of allowing. It is an art, it's a practiced art. The art of allowing myself right here, right now, to be a vibrational match to what I want, even if the conditions aren't showing themselves to me yet. I'm unconditional. I'm practicing the art of vibration about what I want, even though what I want hasn't shown itself to me yet. And when you get that, that you can control your vibrational output, which means you can control what comes back to you. You can control your vibrational output when you are able to consciously separate what is from what you're offering vibrationally. For a long time, we've been saying to you that most of you, we love you so much, most of you offer most of your vibration in response to what you are observing. And that makes you, as a people, feel like you have to control what's going on out there. Because if you see good things, you feel good, and if you see bad things, you feel bad. So let's get rid of all the bad things, even though that's vibrationally not possible. This is a universe based on attraction. There's no exclusion. When you shout no at something, you're actually saying yes to something you don't want. Vibrationally, because there's no yes or no in your vibration. There's just attention to it or not attention to it, you see. So when you understand the laws of the universe, and you understand, and this is the most important piece that you got to get for any of the rest of it to make any sense. You are source energy in this physical body, and the source energy part of you is active and emitting a signal. In other words, your soul is with you all day, every day. That source energy part of you is emitting a signal that law of attraction is responding to. So when life caused you to say, I don't like not having enough money, I want more money, the source part of you began emitting a signal about more money. So every time you notice you don't have enough, since source is noticing that there is plenty, there's a discord within you that you feel in the form of negative emotion. Everything is like that. Your inner being has an opinion about everything that you have an opinion about. And law of attraction is responding to both of those vibrational focal points. And that's what equals your guidance system. So you can tell when you're on point by the way you feel. You feel great. You feel clear-minded. You feel sure-footed. You feel fun, eager, alive, vital. You feel light-hearted and happy. You feel determined and sure-footed. You feel enlivened. You feel empowered. You feel invincible. You feel sure. And if you feel anything less than any of that, that means you're focused upon something that's enough off from who you really are and what you really know to be, that you are introducing resistance, which is the opposite of allowing, into the equation. And so in the moments of those negative feelings, you're not practicing the art of allowing. You're not practicing the path of least resistance. You're practicing the art of resistance and the path of most resistance, you see. So as we sort this out today, it'll be fun. We're eager to talk with you about anything that matters to you. Nothing is off limits. You will notice a perfect unfolding as we are playing together. And you'll also notice that sometimes someone who's sitting here will represent something that matters to you, and the dialogue that we will have will be just what you're looking for. So whether you actually sit in this seat and visit with us or not, it is our promise to you that we know where you are, we know what you want, we know what you have created vibrationally. We know that the life that you have lived has caused an expansion of you. And we know that the way you feel is about how well you are in any given moment in time, keeping up with that expansion. And so our job here today is to help you get hold of a piece of a thought that softens your resistance and helps you to find the path of least resistance. That's what any friend does for any friend. Amplifies the allowing part of the equation, which means no pointing out problems, no really being a sounding board for problems, just getting as quickly as possible to the point of what you want, and then finding the path for you of least resistance. And that's the most interesting thing about life, isn't it? Your path of least resistance isn't necessarily like anyone else's, and it isn't necessarily like your own was just a minute ago. In other words, the path of least resistance is about from where you are right here, right now, to where you want to be. And where you are right here, right now, changes. For example, let's say that you are employed and you are not happily employed. You don't like going there. You don't like being there. You don't like doing what you have to do while you are there. So it doesn't feel like the path of least resistance for you. So you've come to one of these gatherings and you've heard Abraham say, it's important to follow your path of least resistance. And you say, okay, I don't like being there, so I'm not going to go there anymore. And we say, well, let's talk about this before you turn in your resignation. Let's talk about if it really is the path of least resistance. In other words, we know you don't want to be there. You've just told us that you don't want to be there. But we also know that you have some financial responsibilities and some people that you are tending to, maybe financially. And so just quitting that job, is it really the path of least resistance? And by that we mean, would you feel better or worse by doing that? Well, in a abrupt moment, you might say, better, way better. I'd feel way, way better, way, way better. But you might have quitter's remorse because it really isn't the path of least resistance from where you are right now. Long term it is. Long term, you might say, I'm not always going to be here. That's the path of least resistance. Long term, you might say, this is temporary for me. That's the path of least resistance. But if you say, I'm leaving here today, and you don't have anything else figured out, that's not the path of least resistance. So what happens with so many humans is that they are trying to figure out what behavior is right and what behavior is wrong. And we say, it sort of kind of depends on where you are, doesn't it? In relationship to where you want to be. Aren't there a lot of factors that equal whether this is the path of least resistance or a path of more resistance? And really, can anybody else in the whole wide world tell you what your path of least resistance is? They can't, can they? They don't know what you've been living. They don't know what you've carved out. They don't know what you didn't like and what you did like and what you've created in this vibrational reality, which is where your inner being stands. They don't know what you have vibrationally evolved to, and they don't know where you stand in relationship to it, and they don't really know how you feel, even though you tried to tell them often how you feel. They don't really get it. They've just got their distorted perspective of how you feel. So as you begin taking a poll, what do you think I should do? 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 Then you give up your own guidance system and you lose your ability to sense your own path of least resistance, and then you're just kind of all over the place, making decisions that don't serve you with no long-term, obvious improvement in your life experience. But when you get it, that you've been carving out a very clear perspective of who you are, and that you are supposed to thrive, and you are supposed to feel good, and you are supposed to be happy, and that vibrationally speaking, that non-physical part of you is, and that you've got some habits of thought. You do. That's all a belief is. It's a habit of thought. It's a thought you keep thinking. It's a vibration that you practice. And law of attraction helps you practice it because you've been practicing it. And so that's what law of attraction brings back to you to practice some more. The more you observe, the better you get at practicing what is, and the worse you are at helping things move more to what you want. So you've got beliefs and perspectives about what is that are different from what you want, but are more dominant than what you want. And that's what's got to change. You can't keep looking at things the way you've been looking at them and feeling about them the way you've been feeling about them. If there's anything that we want for you, it's that you leave this gathering with a very clear intent that nothing matters more to you than that you feel good, which means nothing matters more to you than that you are aware, alert to your own guidance system, which means nothing matters more to you than your willingness to find the path of least resistance. And the path of least resistance always feels better than the path of more resistance. And there's something that we'd like to say as we get started here. We're not ever going to ask you to find the path of no resistance. And we're not ever going to ask you to be on the path of no resistance forevermore. You came into a physical body because you want to sift and sort. We're talking about the path of lesser resistance. We're talking about using your guidance just to tell whether this thought is beneficial or not. And when you get good at this, you can tell. You can just feel when you're moving towards something that is of benefit to you and others, and when you're not. You have superb guidance because you have a cadre of non-physical energies consciously aware of you. Not just aware of you, but knowing you, knowing who you really are, and holding a vibrational tone, a vibrational beat, a vibrational signal that represents purely who you are. Ooh, that's such a good thing. And because that signal of who you really are is so powerful, and because law of attraction is responding to it in such a powerful, consistent, never-ending, never-yielding way, that creates a calling of you to that. That's what your path feels like. It feels like you going home. It feels like you being whole. It feels like you feeling good. It feels like you getting what you want. It feels like right path, right path, right path. Get the hang of this? So, path of least resistance and guidance system and momentum and law of attraction, all same subject, yes?